BTW.
Blow the whistle.
Blow the whistle.
We back at it.
Again.
Again.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, D Brown.
This your co-host over here, Dame, not your average therapist. You know how we do it. Each and every week here on Blow the Whistle, where we're merging sports and mental health. But we're in this.
This is off season.
This is called an off season.
This is the off season. We gave you guys 10 great weeks of season. Now we're giving you 5 off season segments. This is number 2. We have a great guest. Oh my gosh.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yes, we had so many great reviews and comments from last week.
Yeah.
I was definitely looking forward to this
one. Absolutely. And you know the topic of conversation is relationships. So you know you want to tune in on this one. You know, just get you some popcorn, get you your favorite beverage, you know, and just relax.
Get you a fan in case it get hot.
Yeah. We're going to spit out some bombs. We're going to be blowing the whistle a couple of times. And I know I'm going to be blowing my whistle with our guests.
I'm going to let you handle this one. Go ahead.
So our guest today, you guys, is Miss Shavon. Is it Robles? Robles. See, I was saying it right the first time. Thank you for correcting me.
Don't say no, you got it.
And she's an empowerment strategist. So for the slow people that's on here watching this, include myself, like, first, welcome to the show. Welcome to Blow the Whistle. Glad to have you, Miss Lady, my queen over there doing it big down there in Florida.
That's right. You know it.
Oh,
home state, home girl. Stop playing.
Oh, we already started. What's going on, Shavon? How you doing?
Man, I am doing good. Great that I'm on here with y'all.
Yeah, man. We finally get you on our platform because we normally engage in some hot and heavy conversations on your platform. If y'all didn't know, we've been on her show several times, Shavon. Yeah. No, shout out to the other Shavon.
Yes.
So check them out.
Yeah.
Great conversations.
Absolutely.
They come on Sundays. You can check them out on Facebook. Absolutely. But I'm gonna wait to the end to give you that plug. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely.
But go ahead. Just kind of tell the viewers your title, you know, and how that came about and the passion and values of it.
Absolutely. So I am an empowerment strategist, which usually makes people do a double take. They have no idea what that means. So it kind of came about because I'm one of those people that I love to instigate conversations, kind of educate people in a way that makes them transform their thought processes and really change behavior. So with that, I am a certified mindset coach. So one of the things I help people do is identify how their mind handles, stores, retrieves information in order to step into their authentic power. So I help people in many different arenas. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, people who are stuck or have hit plateaus and they don't know how to get to that next level. So what I do is I work with them to implement strategic change that's going to catapult them into that next arena or into that next level. So a lot of that has a lot to do with mindset, has to do with how you take information in, how you process it, how you disseminate that information in different platforms. So understanding that is going to understand where you are and help you get to where you want to be.
Man,
very interesting. Very impressive. Very
impressive, and it's kind of aligned with what we do.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So I definitely can receive that right there. Digest that. Just, all that. I was about to blow the whistle, but
we're gonna blow it later.
So anytime you drop a jewel, if you don't know, for our new viewers coming in, anytime that a jewel's been dropped, on the radio station with Funkmaster Flex, when it's something like catastrophic, comes, he dropped the bomb. But on here we blow whistles. So anytime Shavon or myself or D drops a jewel, we gonna blow the whistle. I'm just gonna get my air right because I'm gonna be ready to blow some.
I'm here for it.
Okay, that's what's up. So we were talking about relationships, and again, the off season we're focusing primarily on relationships. And for this particular episode, we wanted to talk about the blurred lines that exist in relationships. We're talking about intimate, we're talking about romantic, we're talking about family, we're talking about work, community life, all of those things in the mask that we have to wear in those in governing our emotions.
Yeah. It's a phenomena that we haven't been able to overcome. When you talk about just the blurred lines in the communication, the different communications, how we communicate, how it affects different relationships. We're talking relationship, but don't not to get it misconstrued. We're talking about more than just romantic relationships. These type of things in the blurred lines that we're speaking of, and we're about to have a conversation about, is something that affects relationships across the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's one in particular that I'll share later on, but it really is something that needs the attention, because our relationship and the way we operate and the model in which we are doing things is just
right.
It's just a wide range of chaos and sound, and a lot of people are hurting and just trying to sustain a relationship instead of be happy and grow and prosper. Like, those are the things that we're supposed to be doing in a relationship when you join. But now it's, a lot of times it just seems like, we're in a state of just contentment, or, like I said, just sustaining where you're at, when happiness should be, the ultimate goal.
Right. And peace.
And peace.
Absolutely. What's your thoughts on that? What do you think that blurred lines exist across relationships, Shavon?
Oh, absolutely. For many different reasons, but blurred lines are there. Absolutely. It has a lot to do with a person's, I say, like, your comfortability with communication. It has a lot to do with that. I think past trauma, past things you've experienced can blur lines. If you're a person that you express yourself, or you told someone that you love them, or you communicated all of that and it wasn't reciprocated, or it was taken the wrong way, or you experienced like a pain, then you're going to be very cautious with that. So you're going to ride that middle way, because you may feel a certain way, but you don't want to say it to them until they show you that they feel that way, or that you know that it's okay. And that's where things get really, really, really confusing at. A lot of times that way. Or if you feel like you're in over your head and you don't think that that person's going to give you the response that you want, then you just don't ride it until you get confirmation another way. But I definitely feel like a lot of times, especially when people feel like, because I don't know, there's studies that have said in every relationship, there's always one person that's like a 7 or an 8 and the other person is below that. And so usually the person that's below that doesn't want to mess it up, because if you're not the 7 or the 8 in a relationship. So they will ride that wave, and you don't want to rock the boat. So you just like, right. We cool, but sometimes we do stuff that's more than friends. So I don't really want to try to make them define this, because if I try to define this, and they may step back, or you know what I mean, little things like that. Or even if it's a friendship that kind of turns into a relationship, sometimes people don't want to say anything because they don't want to rock the boat, because they're uncertain of where they actually lie.
Yeah. Wow. You definitely raised some key points there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Wow. So I guess segue into this particular conversation, because I wanted to talk about we're having those blurred lines and trying to understand and comprehend. It's often the blurred lines come across because we don't communicate. We don't have effective communication skills. I don't say that we don't communicate, because we do. And
it's the way we communicate.
It's the way that we communicate. So I wanted to kind of talk about and shed some light on communication styles. So we have 4 different ones, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's aggressive, passive aggressive, and assertive. And in most situations or relationships, there's usually one that's opposite of the other. You have that strong-willed person that's really aggressive in a sense, make things happen, the leader in the relationship. And that could be relationships on all levels. Then you have that one that just kind of I just want to go with the flow. I don't want to rock the boat, as you said earlier. I don't want to rock the boat, so I'm going to see what they're going to do before I reciprocate, what I'm feeling, or give what I'm feeling. So I want to kind of share a lot on that. And how do you feel like the different styles or types of communication impact relationships?
Woo, that's a good one. But I think that for me, I'll just use myself as an example. I don't think I'm just one way all the time, if that makes sense. So there's certain aspects that I'm assertive in. because I know what I want what I want, and I'm gonna tell you what I want. Like I know that I'm gonna be that way. And then there's other times where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kind of step back and just kind of not take the lead. And that could kind of be because, being, the way I was brought up is that the man is supposed to lead, the man is supposed to take charge of certain things. So there's certain times I'll step back until, you just can't get it right and you dropping the ball, then we're gonna have a whole conversation about that.
You become more assertive.
Yes. But for them, and I think it just depends on what it is within that relationship, because there's certain aspects within a relationship I'm always going to be assertive because I just know what I want. But then when it comes to certain like decision making things or different things like that, like I'm a voice my opinion because I feel like it's a dual thing. It's duality that we have there. We're coming together as one. So we definitely have our opinions in there. So I'm going to let my opinion be known, but I'm not going to lead or dominate in that space because, like I said, that could just be the way that I was brought up. Let a man be a man and lead. But that doesn't mean that I can't be assertive or confident. And sometimes I feel like that's where people mistake things. You get this passive aggressive type nature because, I'm supposed to be submissive. And so he's supposed to be the head. So I'm not supposed to say anything. So I'm going to have this passive aggressive nature. And that's crazy. To me, that's crazy. That does not make sense. Like, say what you don't say and feel good about what you say to the other person's going to receive it or they're not. And if they don't receive it, cool, you found out. So now move on to someone who does want to receive what you have to say or wants to receive what you have to give. That's my thought on it. So I feel like any type of relationship or situationship or whatever it is that cannot handle a conversation, it shouldn't be a ship at all. So my thought.
You're either going to become passive aggressive or you're going to become passive. You're going to withdraw completely and just, be filled with those negative emotions, whether it's anger or resentment or hurt or sadness or whatever, because you're internalizing these emotions instead of letting those thoughts out.
Yeah. And one of the things I heard Shavon say that was really stuck out was say what makes you feel good is what you said. Be confident in what you say and say what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I think that's an obstacle that we also have is that, we're not true and honest. And that's what we're talking about with compromising our emotions. We're not true and honest with what makes us feel good because we don't want to lose, because we're codependent, because we're sacrificing.
Yeah.
And so it changes our communication skill level and not even being able to identify with ourselves what makes us happy.
Right.
I'm just trying to be satisfied. And that's what we talked about before. The goal is to be happy. Sometimes we just want to be satisfied. When that becomes the main cog in your relationship, then there is an issue. There's a challenge there that you have to acknowledge and deal with because that's not it. That's not the relationship.
Wow.
And it's not healthy either. And I think it's knowing you. I think when you get to a point where you know who you are, when you spend time with yourself and you know who you are. I mean, it took a while for me. It took, a lot of heartbreak, some other things that happen to be like, you know what? I like this. I like this. I don't like this. I'm unwilling to tolerate this. And just getting to know who you are. And I think when you get to a place where you know yourself, you are comfortable with yourself, you are confident in yourself, then you can say what you want. And you don't care if someone doesn't like it, because at that point, that's their issue and that's their loss. It's not yours. Because what I realize is that in order to operate, I'm really big upon operating in your authenticity, operating as your authentic self. And so a lot of times when you're compromising who you are for the sake of someone else, you're not happy. You're not. You are going to resent them. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be upset. You're going to be all these other things. So why don't you just eliminate that? Because then the more you do that, then they don't really know who you are because you're not being your authentic self, because you're holding you back for the sake of them or what you think they may think. So it's a lose-lose situation when you do that. Right. So for me, I came to the conclusion of, you know what? Once I got to know me, and I was like, you know what? I kind of wish Shavon, she's kind of dope. You know what I mean? Like, she's a cool little girl. So hey, let me operate in that. And so that's where I feel like when you get to that point, then when someone walks away, you don't lose. I don't ever feel bad for the love or the attention that I gave to someone. In my opinion, you might have needed that. You know what I mean? I don't ever regret me giving myself wholeheartedly and authentically to someone and they don't accept that or they can't handle that, because that's a them thing. So it's just, okay, let me find someone who can handle all of Shavon, who can deal with all of Shavon, who wants to deal with all of Shavon. And then you have that more authentic relationship. And then you do have where you have communication that is, I mean, it's not passive aggressive. You're able to have really good communication with someone and have great experiences with someone, because then you experience that person on all levels, because we're multi-dimensional people. So if you're only operating in one lane, someone's not experiencing the totality of you. And I don't know about, I mean, for me, I want someone to experience all of me, not just a part of me, or not just a part of me, or not just an aspect of me. So that's my thought process on that.
Yeah, that was.
He beat me to it. We were supposed to bend blue this whistle.
Yeah, several times.
But we just can't interrupt. Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't interrupt you.
Gotcha.
The flow was going, so had to let it roll.
Man, wow. And so she dropped a bunch of jewels. We should be still blowing this whistle, but is as she's talking, my mind is going to different aspects of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were talking about being comfortable. And it was like, when I think about the communication that you were just speaking of, and I take it away from a romantic relationship right now, and because like we said, we're talking about all relationships.
Right.
It reminds me of the relationship between a father and son, more prevalent African American father and son relationship, and the phrase "I love you." Mm. For whatever reason, there's no historic mark to be able to give us any clue of why that is so hard for us to say to each other. It's a blurred line somewhere. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking, what you were talking about, I went off in my own little space, and it reminded me of that type of relationship. Now, I had that with my father, but I truly can self-disclose. I don't remember us saying it till probably, or me being comfortable saying it back.
Yeah.
Till I was probably a young adult.
Yeah.
And so just listening to you, it just reminded me how that dynamic affects all relationships. And so for a person like myself, with the example that I'm giving, as we grow up with that, that's more of a tough love thing, because we haven't fulfilled the totality of what love communication is between father and son. Mm-hmm. Now, as we get into a different phase of life and we want romantic love, then we have to assume a position of nurturing, which we're not equipped with that. And there's a reality, and now I'm going just from a male standpoint, there's a reality that the world shows no love. So when I listen to you, then I think about how it affects a relationship such as that one, and then I think about the long-term effects of it. It's like an emotional roller coaster.
For sure.
And it's, wow, I don't know.
I had to blow that on you. Hey, man.
Like, what you think?
I mean, like, I'm with you on that for sure. Like, I can probably only tell you maybe 5 times or less that me and my dad said, "I love you." And pretty much for me, all I can remember is telling him that on his deathbed. You know what I'm saying? So although I knew it was there, like you said, it was that tough love. So half of us, half of our emotions were cut off because of that dynamic. And that was passed down generation to generation. You can go all the way back to slavery if you really want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like being snatched from family to family, or a dad being taken away, and you not being able to emote or express out of fear, because if they know that y'all related or something like that, they may kill them right in front of you or something like that. So you may not have been able to express anything. And those things were passed down. I'm a true believer in the genealogy of emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And that's the reason that we have a blurred line. So how do you, if you hear that now, Shavon, and that's new information there. I know it's not for you. You're a very intellectual person, but if you're just now hearing that, how does that, being a female, help you, or does it help you look at a relationship, or more specifically a man from that standpoint?
It definitely helps. It helps you understand why, from a perspective, why men seem so closed off, why they seem so unavailable to an extent. And part of me even wonders if that, like, because if you mentioned something like that's something that came from slavery, like that's a generational type thing. I also feel like that's a trauma that kind of became culture.
Yes.
It kind of became the way that well, that's just the way men are. That's just the way guys are. And it's like, just because they've always been that way doesn't necessarily mean that they're supposed to be that way.
Right.
Or they even stop to understand why they are that way. Because I know there's a reason for that, and there's a reason for that, kind of for that cold, if you want to call it like a coldness. So it's like something that you said too is like, I know you knew that your fathers cared, but they just didn't really say that. And so I've dealt with that from two different perspectives as well. Even just being my own father is very much a not verbal I love you person. He was I'm going to show you by doing all this extra stuff for you. So I always knew my dad cared, but it took me, I think I was in high school and I was like, no, I'm going to force you to start saying this back. Like I had to force him to. So now when I talk to him and I got the phone, hey dad, I love you. Oh, hon, I love you too. And it's no big deal, but it was a whole process for that. And I almost felt like I didn't want to see that go like that passed on through my brothers also. But then even in my last relationship, because my ex didn't have his father. His father died when he was young. So he never had that male there to say that. So it wasn't something that he expressed. And then having a domineering mother was like, so when I came along, I'm like, nah, this is a two-way street, buddy. Like, I'm not, mama, like, what are you talking about? I bumped. I like hit a brick wall all the time because he couldn't express it in a way that I was used to. Because my brothers, we talk and we tell each other that we love each other all the time. You know what I mean? Like that's just a normal part of my family now, just to have that expression. But to come up against someone who didn't grow up in that environment, didn't see it, it wasn't shown to them, so they never reciprocated it, so they don't know how to receive it. And so that becomes an issue a lot of times too for women, because we want to be so, oh, I love you and touchy and, all those different things. And for that person that didn't come from that environment, then for women, it can be, well, he's rejecting me, or there's something wrong with me, or what is he doing? Your mind can go 1,000 different ways trying to figure out why this person isn't responding to you the way that you respond to them. And some of that is trauma that's being passed off as culture, but some of that is just a person's love language and how they are. But it's going to take that communication for you to understand which one of those two things it is.
Wow. And I'm thinking, as you were talking, Shavon, I'm thinking like when you have those situations where you tell someone that you love you, another guy, right? Initially, it's like it's a butterfly feeling, like you feel kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a weird moment.
It's a weird moment, and I'm like, why?
It's a weird moment.
Why do I feel weird expressing how I feel about someone?
You think society plays a role in that? Because men aren't taught to be that way? Remember when they would, I don't know if guys still say it now, but I know they did. Oh, they used to get on my nerves too. No, before anything, oh man, no homo, that you look nice. No homo. Then I'm like, why do you have to preface it with that?
Right.
Like,
right.
Why you have to start your conversation with that before you just say what you say. And I think for God, I don't know. Do you feel like it's weird to say that to just another guy or to anyone that you're not in a romantic relationship?
No, now as I've grown, and progressed and become more emotionally intelligent, it's not weird for me now.
Okay.
But 10 years ago, it's we would never say I love you. It's more so like, it's all love. You know what I'm saying? Or something to that effect. We would phrase it.
Back home we say one.
Yeah.
Right.
You have
one love, but
right.
One.
Exactly.
Code.
So you kind of knew what it was, but it was like, why do we avoid saying I love you? And Shavon probably hit it on the head as far as the cultural impact and what it's in reference to, because we often hear opposite sex, I love yous, whether that's mom or sisters or whatever the case may be, but it's never same sex for guys. So when you're not used to saying it regularly, then it's kind of like it's almost more intimate, maybe romantic a little bit. You don't want, again, you saying the no suspect or the no homo or whatever it is, like it makes you feel like you're coming off as being gay. Almost like love is just, it's an emotion, it's an act. It doesn't have to be sexual for me to love you. And I think people get blurred lines on that too.
Right.
Even in opposite sex relationships, platonic relationships, and you tell a friend that you love them, and it's a female. Hopefully she doesn't take it, romantically if you don't, mean it that particular way. But if I love you, I love you.
Right.
I care for you, whatever. I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. I love you. It's like Diddy. It's like that buddy love type thing. It's like I love everybody. So, it's just the depth in which I love you or how far I'm willing to go for you.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's key. I had to normalize that with my guy friends, telling them that I love them. Because I was like, the first time you said it, I was like, I need to normalize this because if something happens to you all, like, that would bother me. I need you to know that I care. Oh, Shavon, we know. Okay, but I'm going to normalize it. So I say it so much now, they'd be like, I know. Like the roll of the eyes and everything. But I'm like, no, you need to normalize that because sometimes I think people just get to where they feel like that's only something you say to someone in a romantic relationship.
Exactly.
So instead of that, sex doesn't have to be involved. You got to normalize saying the word love, but you have to mean it. And I think sometimes why people don't take it as seriously, doesn't carry as much weight is because people just say it to say it. And so I also think that depends on the person. So I know when I say that to people, they know I don't say stuff just to say it because that's just not how I am. So it carries more weight. But if you just out here like Oprah throwing away love to everybody, then nobody's going to feel like that.
You get a love. You get something.
You get a love. No, man. Like it has to be some type of meaning behind that. But I really think that's something that needs to be normalized in platonic relationships as well, whether that's same sex or opposite sex, that you love someone and explaining what that means. Because there are levels to love. There are degrees to love. There are different meanings to what love is. So yeah, I like that.
You trying to get a sequel with that, them titles right there. Because there are levels. That's a whole nother show. There's levels to this.
There's levels to this, man. It is though. There's levels to love. You just don't love everybody on the same level.
That's right.
You don't.
Oh man, I got a lot of stuff. I mean, we can go all day. You know how we do.
I know.
We can go all day. Yeah. But I really want to know, and especially from a female's perspective, just in relationships, and we're talking about communication and being able to express, but the lack thereof or the blurred lines that exist gender role wise, as this evolution of the woman has, progressed over, centuries, decades, what have you. How does that evolution impact gender roles?
Ooh, majorly. Majorly in many different ways. And I think it really depends on the person. So, you have women now that are entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're CEOs, they're C-level executives, they're doing all this stuff. So they're making, the same amount of money as men or their counterparts or even more in some instances. And so in that regard, I really think it depends on the person because some folks take it as I make the most money. So what you not gonna do is tell me what I need to do or what I'm not gonna do. You know what I mean? Like you have that whole approach to things. And then you have, for me, I could care less whether I make more money than you or not. Like if we're together, then it doesn't matter to me. Like that's not gonna dictate how I am. So the amount of money I make isn't gonna change the way I communicate with you. It's not gonna change the softness of who I am as a woman. It's not going to change any of that. I'm still going to be me. I'm just me with more money. You know what I mean? So I think it depends on the person because I feel like, especially when it comes to, I'll just say finances, I don't really think finances changes the person. I think it just exposes who that person is. So a woman who was humble at $30,000 a year
don't want to blow your ear off.
But a woman who's seemingly humble at $30,000 a year and then starts making $150, and then all of a sudden, like, her whole attitude switches up. She was that person waiting for that $150. She was waiting to break them 6 figures because she wanted to show that side of her. So I don't think that that's something that changes you. Just like a man, you know, who loves his woman and he's down for this and he's humble when he wants to work together and he starts making money, then it's like, oh, to the next one, I'm gonna get something bigger, better, prettier, more shiny. He wanted that in the beginning. He just didn't have the assets around him to be able to get that thing. So that's my thought when it comes to that. But the gender roles, yeah, there's a lot. When it comes to communication and everything else, because you have these women I'm just going to say what I say. So you have individuals like, oh, we need to have equality in every aspect of everything. And it needs to be this, it needs to be that. And so you say that on one end, but then you expect this antiquated way of communication and a way of living life. So you can't say, I want to be equal to you, but you know, you the man, so you supposed to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now, sis, because if you want equality in one area, then you want equality across the board. Like, we can't pick and choose where you want equality or where gender roles start and end. Oh my! You can't do that. So, yeah, I'm gonna stop right there for a second.
And what you're saying as far as the gender roles, from a female standpoint, you guys, your role has changed
a lot
over the decades. I remember being, very young, and the male role was pretty much defined. Okay, and from that male role being defined, the female role was assumed, and for large majority accepted.
Yeah.
Then, what, I don't know the year, the time frame, but in recent history, the equal rights movement, the equal opportunity movement. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think even a couple of years before that, you start to see women now motivated more to do more and to be on the same platforms. Mm-hmm. So now, something unprecedented, we have a female vice president, so, but at the same time, we still have been brought up in a fashion that there's a role for the female, but as we're seeing right before our eyes, that role is changing. Mm-hmm. And if you would be a fool to believe that all that change and evolution that's happening to this species is not going to affect and impact the relationship with a total opposite sex.
And it is. And that needs to be talked about. And I think that's where communication comes in from, is understanding. Because I know I've dated guys that felt like, well, in college I dated this guy who was like, oh, that's great that you get a degree, but if our relationship goes on, then you're not working. Like, you're going to be at home, you're going to be taking care of kids. I was like, oh, babe. First of all, when I'm not spending 4 years in college to be sitting at somebody's house, like raising kids, pregnant all the time. Like, that logically doesn't make sense. But that individual was unwilling to even hear a different aspect of stuff. Where in my mind, I always see myself as, oh, well, my brothers are cooks and they that. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if my man wanted to stay home and do things that way. Like, that wouldn't have bothered me personally, because my stomach, I care about my stomach more than I do other stuff. So if you cooking and you hope that's how we were. Yeah. We can compromise on some things, but I realized that even that viewpoint was different. And so I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. What are your expectations of me as a woman? You know what I mean? Understanding that maybe that person wants you to base your life off of how their mother was or how they wish their mother would have been. And so you go into these relationships thinking that like it's going to be a certain way, and it's not. Is everything going to be 50-50? And what does 50-50 really look like? And is that something that really even makes sense? But it's understanding those things before you hop into that, because roles are changing. The expectations are changing. Not all men work outside of the house. Not all men are the breadwinners in their house. Not all men care to be the breadwinners in their house. Some men want to be home and they want to raise the kids and those types of things. So it's just
that self-awareness, even within relationships, is being able to say, this is who we are. We decide this.
Yes.
Not society in a sense. And I think we're so easy to go along with the norm.
Yeah.
Or what's being presented to us.
Yeah.
Because as we progress, we learn more, right? So as these gender roles become a little bit more blurred, and they're not necessarily roles, it's just a compromise on agreement between two people. You know, you're going to get the more emotional, because before we wasn't. So now we're starting to become more emotionally intelligent. So those roles are going to change, or going to be blurred, or it's going to be fluid in a sense. So you I pick out what your strengths are, and I'm gonna follow you in those strengths, and vice versa. Instead of saying, okay, well, I'm the man, so I'm going to handle the finances and everything that's dealing with that, but I'm no good at budgeting. Like, why the hell would I lead?
Yeah.
In that particular arena.
Right.
Like, we literally take care of households to heart, and be like, like, I run everything. Yeah. Instead of saying, like, most CEOs, they don't make the final decisions all the time. Right. Just because you own something doesn't mean that it ends with you. You know what I mean? So being able to kind of be flexible or fluid, I call it fluid in your relationship.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I like what you said. You said an agreement. And I think that when you look at a relationship and how you all maneuver within that space as an agreement and not an assigned role, you'll have a better outcome. What are we going to agree to within our relationship? What is our agreement with how we're going to communicate, with how we're going to get things done, with how we're going to do all these different things? Because it's not necessarily a role. And that's the part where I'm like, that makes no sense, because I just know from even just friends that I have, it's like, I'm this independent woman. But then you get in a relationship and then you act like you 1950 Betty Crocker. Like, what is happening right now? Like, I'm so confused. So you can't be like, oh no, I'm independent, I make 6 figures. Your man make 30,000, but you want him to pay for everything. Like, that doesn't make sense, because you have to figure out what you want, and then you need to find someone that can align with what you want. To me, that's the biggest thing. Figure out what you want in what's going to make you happy in a relationship, and find someone who aligns with that. But you can't get with someone and then try to switch it up later to something that you all never agreed to or doesn't actually make sense for your particular relationship to thrive. That's crazy.
You're going to make us get new whistles.
Yeah. The little ball that's in there, it's going to come out. It's going to be done.
Shavon, I mean, this entire conversation, discussion you have just shared much needed information. Your openness, very transparent, and we thank you for coming and being a guest. But I always want to kind of end these type of shows or discussions with kind of a scenario, and so it's a real life scenario, because many viewers are going to watch this, and I'm hoping that many couples or many people who are focused on a certain relationship. Again, like we talk about father-son, it could be a business relationship. We talk more about romantic relationships, but just in relationship, when we talk about blurred lines and someone says, man, I'm in this relationship, there are blurred lines. I want to stay in this relationship, but if these blurred lines stay blurred, I might have to be ghost. What do you say to them? What advice do you give them? What activity, whatever input or jewel that you have to drop, what would you say to that couple, to that person who is focused on that particular relationship?
So a couple of different things, because I think if you feel like your relationship is in a blurred line, there's a couple of different ways to go about that. First, what is it that you want in a relationship? Because before you can discuss what's blurred and where you're going, you got to figure out what it is that you actually want from the relationship, and then reflect upon the relationship itself and why did the lines get blurred in the first place? So was it one of those things where you all met and then you just kind of got hot and heavy, you never really talked about anything, and so now you didn't caught feelings and you're not really sure where that person stands, but you don't really want to say anything because you're not sure where they are? Like, you have to be honest with you have to be honest with yourself and say, let me really break down this relationship and take a look at this relationship. Let me look at me. where I contributed to this and maybe where I didn't set very clear expectations or boundaries for this relationship. Because before you can ever have a discussion, you got to figure out where you want to be, but then also how you got to where you are and what role you contributed in getting to where you are. Because it's not just always the other person. It takes two to tango. So you have to figure out what role you played in that. Because sometimes I feel like there can be blurred lines and you know it is. You know the lines are blurred and you know you already know it, but you're hoping that, I mean, I don't know. Let's just say you get with someone and it gets sexual really quick. Well, I'm gonna throw it down and then they gonna want to be with me and it's gonna bring some clarity. Or you don't. And then you're just confused months later. Like, that's really what happens. So let's really talk about, like, for real. I mean, because that's what people do. I don't know. Because I mean, like, anyway, but like, it's really understanding like where, like, how you got there and taking a look at that. Because when you sit someone down and say, hey, I want to define our relationship, because what you don't want to say, that person would be like, okay, but what did we talk about before we ever got here? And then you didn't really think, you wasn't ready for that. You know what I mean? Because y'all might have talked about it being a situationship, or you might have talked about it being a friends with benefits or a booty call or whatever the case is. And then it's just been elongated. It's been stretched over time. So now you're wanting to add definition to something that you actually really clearly defined in the beginning. Now you want more. So the reason I say this is because you need to figure out how you approach that. Hey, I know initially we said we were going to be this, and this, but I didn't expect to feel this way, but I am. And so I just need to know, like, I want to talk about this because I want to figure out where we are. And then you have to be okay with the fact that conversation may end it.
Exactly.
You have to be okay with that. Like, you have to be okay with the fact that it may end, because if you can't see eye to eye there, what do you really have going on? You know what I mean? Like, why are you even trying to continue something that you know that you're not in alignment with? We don't drive cars when our wheels are out of alignment. So why would you continue rolling with a relationship when it's out of alignment? Like, that logically doesn't make sense. But then that's that fear of losing that, or fear of, I gave this person this, or I've poured myself out to this person. But that's a risk that you're going to have to take, because then it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is you have to be true to you, and you don't want to just be content in something. You don't want to be satisfied with something. You want to be happy, and happiness only comes when two people are on the same page.
Yes, man. I want to blow the whistle several more times, but I mean, she's absolutely right. I've personally seen that, to where you establish something in the beginning, feelings get involved, and thoughts and all those things begin to change. It progresses. And then that person who's having the feelings get upset because they're like, damn it, I didn't agree to this particular type of relationship, but I want more. And like you said, that fear, that anxiety of expressing what they truly feel is not going to be validated. Then they just don't bring it up. And so they just sitting in a pile of shit, or they feeling this resentment because I've agreed to be the booty call, but I really want this relationship. I see this person, and I see myself growing with this person, but I don't know how he or she feels, so I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to rock the boat. Hopefully they'll come around. Again, that goes back to communication style. Yep. And whether you're going to be assertive and get what you want, but also make sure that the other person is okay, but not being passive in a sense. I was going to say passive aggressive, but just passive. That's being passive, not being able to express yourself in the appropriate way.
Passivity comes from someone knowing what it is.
Yeah.
They know what it is. They just don't want to rock the boat. Because my thought on that is this. I take mixed signals as a no. If you literally have to sit down and have a whole conversation, especially with the woman, with the man, if you have to sit down and have a whole conversation about where you stand, you already know where you stand before you have that conversation. Because I truly feel like if a man really wants you, he's going to let it be known. He's not going to play games. Like, he's going to let you know that he wants to be with you. Unless it's not as serious as you think it is. And then you're going to be in that confused state. But I just, in my opinion, or you said or?
Or if there's a blurred line and we don't know how.
Exactly. We're talking about communication or lack thereof. So if he agreed to just being that side dude or the dude that you call at 12 o'clock when you want some, but he wants more. But again, if he's already agreed to be in that particular role, it could be a fear of rejection.
And that makes sense.
That's the worst thing for a dude is to feel rejected or to get that bruised to his ego. That's one of the last things that we want to experience because we don't know how to express that. We don't know how to express that hurt or don't want to show that hurt or that sensitive side of us.
Do you think that comes from not expressing? Because let's say you have two people who spend lots of time together and then they cross lines but they never really talk about it. They never really say anything. And then too much time passes. I could see neither one of them saying anything because you never really defined anything and you never really talked about it like at all, ever. I could see that. But if you start out like no real definition of anything, but you meet somewhere in a club and then y'all immediately start having sex and then y'all never really talk about a relationship, it probably is what it is. I mean, maybe not. Maybe you can bounce back and have that conversation months down the road after all
might
that.
wait too late, and then she'd be like, "No, I'm busy, and I'm going on a date with XYZ," and now your feelings hurt because she's doing what what you both kind of agreed on.
And I think that's and I think that's the difference between the blurred lines that come in. So no one really defines anything, and that's communication. Because I feel like so often in relationships, the woman is like, well, we did this, but I'm not gonna make them think I'm clingy, so I'm gonna ride this out because I can do this too. And the dude is thinking the same thing. And a lot of times I feel like both individuals want the same thing. They just don't want to talk about it. And because they don't want to talk about it, then that's where the confusion comes in at. And then they find out later down the road, y'all both wanted the same thing and could have had the same thing, but because no one wanted to have a doggone conversation, now y'all mad at each other. There's confusion. There's arguments where it didn't need to be. You and your feelings when you shouldn't have been. You mad about stuff that doesn't even matter anymore because you never wanted to have a conversation. And I feel like that is why communication is so important. Say that again.
I said, or you just stop talking to that person. And you just cut it. But man, this was a conversation, dude.
Yeah. Like, we're not gonna keep our ladies and gentlemen and our viewers overnight. They're more than welcome to visit the next one coming up, speaking on fatherhood.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a big one.
Yeah, man.
So all you fathers out there, come check us out next week as well.
Yeah.
Dr. Shears is going to come on and share some great things. But Shavon, you currently are the lady in the limelight, and you did a wonderful job in just sharing, being open. And I know I learned some things, and just from a different perspective. And sometimes just learning a different perspective and hearing about it gives you a new insight on some of the things that we may battle individually. And so I appreciate your candidness and openness. It was well appreciated by Blow the Whistle. Of course, all love.
You know how we do. See, he said all love.
I know, right?
Where can people find you at? Like, you're spitting these gems. So as an empowerment strategist, like I know you get a lot of contacts, referrals to do presentations and talk to people individually, all of those things in organizations. Like, how can people reach out to you if they need you, on their team or to provide some type of training or anything like that? Where can they find you at?
Absolutely. So you can find me on my website. It's www.shavonrobles.com. I am on Instagram, mainly on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too, but Instagram at Shavon Empowers, or just on Facebook, my name. Yeah, you can reach me on any one of those platforms. I'm always open. I love this. I love it.
And we can definitely tell that you love, because the conversation was transparent. It was raw. We wanted to blow the whistle over here at least 20 times, but we wanted to get through the episode. So we wanted to make sure that you were heard, because there was some jewels being dropped, for sure.
I appreciate that. But I thank you guys for allowing me to come and grace your platform and just share my thoughts, my insight, my opinions on this topic, because this is definitely something that everyone needs to tune into and listen to and pay attention to, and then take inner inventory afterwards.
Absolutely.
You've done an amazing job. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate
Blow the
it.
whistle, ladies and gentlemen. Shavon, check her out.
Man, dope. You get that energy right there. That's that 5:30 in the morning. Wake up and get ready to go energy right there, man.
It's probably gonna be in the bed by 5:30 tonight though.
We probably kept her up.
I don't know. I'm feeling it now. Like I feel like I got my second win. So I don't know.
All right, we'll definitely check in, and when we drop this episode, we'll definitely let you know. But it was definitely a pleasure talking to. And I'm gonna be down there in Florida. We're gonna be down there. We still gotta do this live. We gotta connect that.
Yes. I'm waiting. Y'all are coming to Florida though, right?
Yeah. We'll be down there.
Okay. I'm waiting. Just let me know.
Yeah, man. So thank you for chilling with us today here on Blow the Whistle, and thank you guys for tuning in. You know how we do here at Blow the Whistle. We keep everything raw, uncut. We bring it to you, relationship style, off season. Check y'all. Peace.